For someone to be able to claim asylum in the United Kingdom, they need to meet the requirements of international conventions and international law. And under the law, for someone to claim asylum, it is because they are fleeing from their own home country for persecution. The persecution might be based on political opinion, religious belief, nationality, race, or what is called membership of a particular social group. Under politics, someone might be a victim of political persecution. For example, where a member of a minority party or opposition party is persecuted by the members of the majority ruling party. On race, it is whereby different races are persecuting each other. Sometimes it might also extend to tribes and so forth. Nationality, it is whereby another nationality is being persecuted simply because they belong to that nationality. Religious persecution occurs where members of different religions or beliefs are fighting. For example, it could be someone who is a Christian being persecuted by another religion, or it could be the um, Hindu versus Muslim, Christian versus um, Muslim, and so forth, or different sects within the same religion might persecute each other. So it could be different sects within the Christianity, different sects within Muslims, and so forth. The last one is therefore what is called membership of a particular social group. And for membership of a particular social group, someone is being persecuted because of a natural characteristic which they have. Someone can be persecuted because of their sexuality, LGBTQ, because they are a woman in certain circumstances or societies. Women who are mutilated and they've got their private parts cut off under female genital mutilation. And in certain societies where people are also persecuted because they've gone into love relationships rather than arranged relationships. Under membership of a particular social group, people are being persecuted because of a natural characteristic which they have. If you are a victim of domestic violence, again, you might be a person that might qualify under membership of a particular social group. So, for you to be able to then get protection within the United Kingdom, you will need to show that you cannot get adequate protection from your own home country. This can be protection through the structures that are there, such as the police or any other security structures that are there. It also means that you might not be able to relocate internally within your home country. If you have tried it, or you can try relocation. If you have not done a relocation, then there will be questions as to why you have not tried relocation. But internal relocation is something that the Home Office would also consider when it comes to asylum. So it's not necessarily that you would be simply because you've suffered some kind of persecution or a prosecution or problems, then you qualify for asylum or protection. It is expected that within your country there could be particular protections that you can get or that you can achieve. Assuming that you qualify for asylum, then the Home Office has got a process that it has to follow. So the first process is that you need to register your claim with the Home Office. This is normally done by calling the Home Office, and then they will give you a mini telephone interview. They will call you to Croydon, and after calling you to Croydon, they will then give you a main interview. When you attend your initial intake interview, the Home Office will take your basic biometric information. And if you want any type of support, whether it's financial support or accommodation, the Home Office will offer you those options. It's not mandatory that you take them if you've got your own accommodation or financial support. And if you take this package, particularly for accommodation, then you've got no choice where they're going to place you. They can place you in different places, or they can say place you in an area wherever is available within the United Kingdom England, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, wherever they get accommodation for you. You will be given the support yourself and your family if you have got a family. So you whatever you say on that day will also be recorded, and they will give you a copy of your interview. They will ask you to summarize your case, so you need to be very careful and clear as to how you summarize your case. And you don't have to leave anything, because leaving anything at that time might damage your case at some point in the future, because that might fall under credibility, and you might be said that you're now kind of reinforcing or recreating your case because you failed to say it in the first instance. So the process is you undergo the initial intake. The Home Office will then call you for the second interview. The second interview and main interview is a quite detailed interview. The Home Office will ask you a lot of questions, and that will depend on the nature of the claim that you have made. So you need to be able to answer all the questions and to know your case. People ask me that if you're my lawyer, are you going to go with me for the main interview? I always tell them that there's no point for me to go with you. I'll just be charging your money, but there's no point, because all the questions will be directed to you, and you will need to respond to those questions yourself. As a lawyer, I'll be taking notes, and I might jump in where I believe the Home Office is now out of order in their questioning, but you are the one who's expected to do all the answering of the questions. It is also important, where possible, to have supporting evidence. In an asylum claim, it is not mandatory to have the evidence. Your statement or the interview can be sufficient evidence for the case. Because let's bear in mind that when someone leaves their country in flee of persecution, they might not have the chance to gather all the information and evidence that they might have. They might not have relatives left or friends left, or there might be no systems or structures left in that country. For example, if it's a country that is now torn with war, if there's any war that is happening within that country. And also, when it comes to documentation, some countries are still far behind when it comes to documentation. There are ways that they do their official documents, such as birth certificates, academic certificates, is still way behind. Some are handwritten, some on poor quality paper, and so forth. So evidence, if you can gather it, is quite important as well in an asylum case. I have pointed out to something that is called credibility. So, if, for example, you say contradictory information, then your credibility is affected. If you delay to lodge your asylum claim, it will also be affected. If you pass through safe countries or European countries and you fail to claim asylum in those countries, then that will also be affecting your credibility. The Home Office, on a burden of a reasonable person, is trying to look at your case to see if whether or not your case is believable to a person who is on the streets. So I've so far commented on the grounds on which you can claim asylum, which are political, religion, nationality, race, and membership of a particular social group. You need to know which one is applicable to your case, and not every um, prosecution or suffering in your country amounts to protection for asylum. So the Home Office process at the moment takes quite a while, some time, and I've known people that are in the process for 2 or 3 years before the Home Office is finalized. After 12 months, if the Home Office is not yet finalized your case, you may qualify to apply for what is called the right permission to work. So you can apply for permission to work if your case is not yet fully decided by the Home Office. And once you get the permission to work, it will be in accordance with the immigration skills list, the jobs that are on there. And at the moment, jobs like care are there, but it's mainly consisting of skilled jobs that are there. If you have got family, then your family members will be your dependents. However, some of your family members or children that are over the age of 18 may be required to lodge their own asylum cases. So it will be depending on the circumstances, or if it's husband and wife, one can be the main person and the other one can be dependent on that. So when the Home Office makes a decision, the decision might be yes, you qualify for asylum, or you don't qualify for asylum, or they might certify your case as clearly unfounded, or some countries have been listed as countries whereby the cases from there are recognized as clearly unfounded. For example, men in Nigeria or other countries. So you can read about these things about clearly unfounded cases, grounds about claiming asylum, and so forth. Another important thing to mention and to comment is that if you are claiming asylum and you do not speak English, you are entitled to have an interpreter helping you to speak the language that you can, so that the Home Office and yourself can understand each other. And that is a facility that is available as well, to have the use of an interpreter. All the other entitlements that you have when you're claiming asylum is to have access to housing, as I have said, and financial support, as I have said, and also medical treatment. So if you've got any problems with your health, you need to get, I think it's what's the certificate now, that you need to get HC certificate, I believe, HC2 certificate, I believe, that will entitle you to get treatment through your claim for the asylum. At any time during the asylum process, if you get additional evidence, you can always submit to the Home Office. If your circumstances change, always update the Home Office. If your country gets better or anything gets better or worse, always inform the Home Office so that your case is always kept live. Alongside the asylum claim, there's also things to do with human rights. So, from my experience, most cases on asylum and human rights are based on Article 3 and Article 8. Article 3 being freedom from torture, and Article 8, a right to family and private life. So, if you suffer any problems, torture in your country, then under the ECHR Article 3 for torture, then you can be able to claim for a claim under human rights. So, for example, if there's no medical facilities in your country, so much that returning to your country with a particular medical problem amounts to suffering and torture, then you can claim under that. Or if you've got a family in the UK, children, wife, extended family, and you've got strong ties with them. If it's adult relationships, which is not between spouses or partners, which goes beyond mere emotional ties, then you can also be able to be considered under private and family life. So it's one aspect that is considered by the Home Office. Children that have been in the country for more than 7 years could be another human rights ground that can be used. Adults that have been in the country more than 20 years, mixed legal and illegal stay, can also be something that can be considered for asylum as well. So in terms of statements, I'm always asked by people that how do I do my statement? When do I do it? What do you do for me as a lawyer? A statement is a summary of your case, and according to the guidances, the statement should be in your own words, should be expressing you, should not have any legal statements in there, but should be factual. So, if a statement has got legal terms, the chances are it was drafted by the lawyer rather than by the client or the person claiming asylum. I'm not saying that the lawyer should not help. The lawyer should help, but help you according to what you are saying. If you're using an interpreter with the assistance of an interpreter, and you have to read through your statement, understand it, and then you sign it. Not what the lawyer wants you to say, but what you want to say. The lawyer will guide you from a legal point of view. Like I've said, they will tell you what the law is on asylum, the process of asylum, how it is done, and once it's granted, what are you entitled to, and so forth. So that is to do with asylum process. I've come across a number of clients that are lodging claims that they believe is asylum. And clearly, when you read through the decisions, there's non-convention reasons in there. Or if there is any convention reason, then they failed to clearly express themselves so much that it comes out as if it's not a conventional reason, or if the way they have said it is not convincing to anyone to say that they are a victim of persecution. So persecution can come from state agencies. By that, I mean it could be persecuted, say, by the government or government officials or political party leaders or political parties, or you can be persecuted by non-state agents. I know of cases where people have been persecuted by very rich and powerful neighbors or community leaders who are not state agents, but their influence goes beyond the local area, onto what are things that are local. So it's again something that needs to be looked at. Where is the persecution coming from? How is it coming? When was it done? For example, if you're claiming asylum because of an event that happened 10 years ago, and there's been changes in governments, and there's been changes in the laws and so forth, it might not be reasonable to expect you to fear persecution for something that happened a long time ago, but it could be something that just recently happened. For example, you might have come to the UK as a student, or you've come to the UK on a visit, and lo and behold, there's a war that is broken up in your country. You can't go back, or you've heard that certain state agencies have come to look for you at your residence or whatever. Then, under those circumstances, although you came with a different intention, but you can no longer go back, then under those circumstances, you could potentially claim asylum, because all these factors got to impact on the reasons why you claimed asylum, and the timing of claiming asylum. As you'd see from the white paper that was introduced by the government on 12 May 2025, they are trying to curb certain ways that people are coming to the UK and then eventually claiming asylum. Um, Things like students trying to convert their stay, or people coming on a visitor's visa trying to convert their stay, or people coming illegally through crossing the sea and so forth. So the Home Office is looking at all those things and trying to bring down the numbers of people that are coming to the UK. So I would say there is a lot of information that is available online. If you go on the gov.uk website, the information is there about the asylum process, the asylum procedure, guidances to the caseworkers on everything, the process itself, the evidence that they look at, and so forth. I have also been having a look at the decisions that the Home Office have been making lately, and it's clear that some of them have been made by AI or on the computers, because they don't really engage with the evidence that has been submitted, some of the refusers that I have seen. In terms of costs, asylum is free. You don't pay any fee for asylum. Um, and there is legal aid lawyers that are available. The government can help you to pay for your legal fees and any other expenses, because in an asylum case, you might need additional evidence from experts. If you are coming from a particular country, you might need what is called a country expert report, showing that the problems that you are enumerating are indeed in your country. You might need medical expert report if you are saying you're suffering from a particular medical problem, and that needs to be confirmed, and things like social worker reports. And if there's documents that are involved, then the documents might need to be verified and checked by experts who deal with documents. If you are claiming to be a minor, a child, and your age is doubted, for example, then you might need to be examined to try to establish your age, and so forth. So there is those kind of expenses that might be involved, and if you are to be on legal aid, those expenses will be covered by the government. However, some lawyers don't do legal aid. At our firm, we don't do legal aid. If you are to come to our firm, we will be charging fees independently for everything that we do. We will advise you that you are entitled to legal aid, but it is your choice to choose to go on legal aid or not to go on legal aid. So, in terms of costs, asylum seekers are entitled to the free process of claiming asylum. If your asylum claim is successful, then you will be granted asylum 5 years at the moment, and after 5 years, you can then go on settlement. The settlement again at the moment is currently free, and then you go to become a citizen if you desire to become a citizen. If you don't desire to be a citizen, fair and fine, you can leave it at that stage. If your decision is that it has been refused, you can either be given a right of appeal or you may not be given a right of appeal, and your decision might be certified clearly unfounded. If you have been given a right of appeal, then you need to appeal to take it to the tribunal, and then you have to prepare your bundle, your evidence, and then you have to go to court. Advise you to seek legal counseling and counselors to go with you. Town law solicitors can go with you to court, and we can bring in our solicitors and barristers to help put legal arguments. And again, in court, you will be cross-examined yourself. It is your duty to give evidence. You will be cross-examined by the Home Office. The judge might also ask you questions and so forth on aspects that are pertaining to your case. But the important thing is if you try to prepare your case early, then you might not need to go to court. So sometimes the Home Office might say you don't qualify for asylum, but you qualify for what is called humanitarian protection. For example, most people in Libya, they might qualify for humanitarian protection because of the systems are broken down and so forth, but they cannot qualify for um, asylum. So the Home Office might give you humanitarian protection, which is usually 4 years. And where you have been successful in your case, the conditions of asylum is that you cannot travel to any, sorry, I beg your pardon, you can travel to any other country, but you cannot travel to your home country. You cannot use your home country passport. So you need to get what is called a traveling document, and your family needs to get your traveling document. Even when you get settlement on asylum, you cannot travel to your home country because you are a refugee on settlement. And the biometric cards, when they were still there, would mention that it's settlement um, on refugee. So until maybe you become a citizen, which is something again the government has been debating, that even if you are a citizen and you were fleeing from persecution, why do you have to go to your country when you've got the British passport, which might be a valid point depending on which side of the argument you stand. So you might be given refugee status, humanitarian protection, or if both are refused, then depending on the human rights claim, you might be able to get leave to remain under human rights. If you are granted under human rights, then currently you are granted 2.5 years, and then you have to renew again 2.5 years, and you have to renew again for 10 years. You have to be renewing, and when you are given under human rights again, you might be given with no recourse to public funds. That means that you are not entitled to public funds. You cannot claim benefits. But again, if your case deserves it and meets the requirements, you might be granted with um, access to public funds. So with recourse to public funds, where you've not been given access to public funds, you will need to, if you think that you need the public funds, make a separate application for the Home Office to grant you the public funds. So, in terms of the evidence for each particular country, the Home Office has got, for certain countries where asylum cases normally come from, they've got country guidance information. and the courts have got country guidance cases. So you have to check on the Home Office website. There could be information, country guidance information about your country, um, and or the court might have country guidance cases for your country. And again, there's also guidance cases or related cases on a particular type of a claim. So if it's a claim based on sexuality, there's a cases that there for sexuality. If it's a claim based on political or race or things like that, they are leading cases. We call them stud cases. So there are stud cases that are available on a particular topic that can be looked at, or they can be a country guidance case, or just a country information and evidence that the Home Office will look through their guides and so forth. So if you are able to read and you've got access to the internet, then it's important that you go through these informations and prepare yourself for the case, particularly if you do not have a lawyer that is helping you. I have done my best to explain the asylum process and the requirements. Before you phone the Home Office to lodge your claim, it is important for you to seek legal advice so that you are advised whether or not you have got an asylum claim. And if you've got an asylum claim, what is it about? And you are properly um, legally advised on that. Because if you go without necessarily knowing what it is, then you might end up creating problems for your case. I understand that in many communities there are some people that have done legal studies in their home country, then who are in this country who might then claim to be lawyers. You need to be very careful of bogus lawyers, fake lawyers, people who don't understand the process but who take advantage of other people and take their money. If you are going to use a lawyer, check them online, check their company, ask them for their registration and who regulates them. If you pay them money, they must give you a receipt, an official receipt coming from a company. And you should avoid a chain of people that so and so knows so and so, who knows so and so, who does asylum cases, or people who lie to you that we know someone within the Home Office who will be able to get a decision for you within the Home Office. It has to be the Home Office looks at each case on its own merits and on its own credibility, on the evidence, advanced or not advanced, on statements that are given. So to not be lied to, that people can jump the hoops and use systems and behind the back payments. I do understand that the Home Office will now be using AI to make some decisions, and we are waiting to see. We have seen the pilot of the AI, some good decisions and bad decisions, but well, it is the world what that we are living in at the moment. So if you've got any questions on asylum, you can contact us. The contact details are there on the screen. We also have a YouTube channel and we've got a Facebook page. So you can subscribe to our YouTube channel or you can contact us, particularly before you've gone to the Home Office, so that we discuss your case and help you with your case. Thank you so much.